Is that your ball, Steve? Yes, please. We'll get underway. He's okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the final of the 2019 Australian National Billiards Championship. We've had a magnificent field through the course of this weekend, preparing ourselves for this final. 2 days ago, our contestant from Victoria, Steve Mifsud, made a break of 575 unfinished, which made him the third person ever to make a break above 500 in the history of the Australian National Billiards when it's been played. And his opponent today, Matthew Bolton, who is one of the other players who had previously made a break above 500 in the Australian National, yesterday made a break of 584. So we're in for some top-class billiards. We look forward to it being a magnificent final. The final will be played over 5 hours, so we'll have a 2.5-hour session commencing now. On completion of that, the players will have a decent break, get themselves a meal, freshen up, maybe change their shirt or whatever if they want. And then the second session will commence at 3:30 this afternoon. So could I introduce to you the players in the final from Victoria, Steve Mifsud. And from Western Australia, the defending champion, Matthew Bolton. The final will be refereed by Neil Brown, and Neville Moore's assisting him in terms of updating the scorecard and keeping the register of the visits for the average later on. I'll leave you in the capable hands of the referees, but everyone please make sure their mobile phone is turned off. Thank you very much.
Very good. So the first session, 2.5-hour duration, Steve Mifsud's break.
Well, here we go, the start of a gruelling 5-hour match. Much anticipated final between Matthew and Steve. And there's a bit of talk about Steve challenging Matthew this year, as he was in fine form, making a 500 break earlier in the tournament. So we'll just have to wait and see how he settles early. I think it's key to Steve's chances getting off to a good start.
Morning, David. That was David Collins' voice you had just heard. It's Jason Colebrook speaking.
Morning, Jason. How are you?
I'm good, mate.
Looking forward to this match.
This will be very interesting. We had dinner with Steve last night, as you know, and Steve said that he'd been practising nothing but snooker for 3 months since getting the tour spot, so he was delighted to make a 575 at Billiards.
Well, it was a great break indeed. Steve's highest break by quite a margin, and having said that, Matthew hadn't played that much billiards himself, and but both players participating in the Pacific Billiards prior to this, we've had enough billiards and they know enough about the game to get going pretty well.
Picked up the
straight
pace
away.
of the tables.
Yes.
I was playing on the table next to Steve when he made his previous highest break, which was 408 in 2009.
Yes, I remember that on table 2 at Brunswick Club.
Yes, it was all postman's knock and he got a kick. He's very much a player. When he gets in the groove, he's hard to stop.
Very much so.
He's
Steve.
the only Victorian player to have made 3 century breaks in 3 frames of interclub snooker, which shows you that when he's on song, he's really on song.
Yes, I know. I've played a lot with Steve, and his touch is quite phenomenal early, and he's capable of playing great recovery shots. Matthew, as well as being able to do all that, is very methodical the way he goes about things, and by methodical I don't mean slow, because he's quite a fast player really once he gets into the top of the table, and scores very, very heavy, and he will be hoping for an early contribution here to put the pressure back onto Steve.
And Matthew has a habit of doing that when he's under pressure. One year he played David Bates, and David had knocked Steve out in the quarters, and David was really playing his best billiards ever, and David broke and Matthew made 690 first visit.
Oh, there you go.
And he did the same thing another year. Somebody else was on song that year and Matthew made 300 and something first visit. So he does like to stamp his authority if anyone has challenged his authority.
Yes, well, not many have been good enough to challenge Matthew's authority of late, and I'm talking about quite a few years. Steve nearly beat him quite a few years back, over 10 years ago at the Brunswick Club, and but having said that, Matthew probably wasn't as good a player as he is now as well, so they've both improved, and Matthew has had more exposure to the world titles and so forth than Steve has, but Steve's definitely improved his game, and I think that a lot of players, a lot of people are expecting a close match, or hoping,
Yes.
at least hoping for a close
Hoping
match.
for a close match. We'll probably mention this quite a few times today as more people log on, but we've got a technical issue with the live scoring. So you can see in the top left corner of your screen, one of the cameras is focused on the scoreboard in the room. The score that usually runs across the bottom of the screen is just not behaving itself today.
But we can still see the scores, so that's fine.
This is being played on table 3, which is the old table 3 from the old club as well. The table's 100 years old. There was a little bit of minor splitting to the timber and the cushion rails, so about 3-4 years ago now, we had the cushion rails completely rebuilt, re-rubbered, re-blocked, the whole thing. The players love this table. Since we've done that, it plays very well.
Yes, well, the general consensus among the players is this is the best table in the room. All the tables are very good tables, but well, Matthew's just missed a simple red off the spot there, and doesn't look too happy about it, as he was just getting a break going. And Steve will be delighted to come to the table, I can tell you. But usually early on in a match, before the nerves settle and the timing of the players settles in their queuing, we're likely to see more mistakes early on than later on.
A 5-hour match, there can be quite a bit of ebb and flow. Billiards is a game where players dominate, but they tend not to dominate for 5 hours. They have hot spots and go a little cold for a little while. It's very important when you're in the zone to maximise your points, and when you're not in the zone.
Oh, for sure, Jason. And it's very hard to keep going. It's the concentration. As you know yourself, you can make a break with 100, and then to follow it up straight away is not an easy thing. It's like we feel like we've done our job, but in actual fact we haven't. But these players that Steve Mifsud a couple of nights ago made a 300 and then a 500 consecutive, and that's remarkable scoring to be able to do that, hold the concentration together.
Yeah, and another 100 in the same match.
Yeah, well, it's very much a confidence thing, and when Steve's confident he can do anything, and he'll need to be right on the ball. As you say, five hours is a very long match, and played over 2.5 hour sessions as to 3 by 2. I think 5.5 hours is long enough for someone to stamp their authority on a match.
Yes, I think so too. All the major, the international organisations, when they play timed finals, they play 5 hours. So it's,
yeah, 5 hours.
I think it's right that we do the same thing with 5 hours.
Yeah, it seems to be the go. It's a little bit easier on the players and the organisers, and actually everyone, and the players get a nice little rest in between sessions and are able to produce their best.
Yes, they'll have 2.5 hours off today, so they can have a meal, they can have a lie down, change shirts if they want, visit their sports psychologist if necessary.
Yeah. Fellow players probably, but usually both of them like to gather their own thoughts. They've got enough experience to work out what they're doing right or wrong. And
Steve's a very deep thinker about the game, not just the technical aspects of the game, but the psychology of the game. He's read a lot of books. I can't think of the name of his favourite book, but his favourite book is actually by a golf coach. But it's all about the mental aspects of golf, and Steve thinks a lot of it applies to snooker as well.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Jason, because I find listening to various top sportsmen in any sport, you can always pick up a little thing, and you can carry it over into a particular sport you play, and it can only help, as far as I'm concerned, when you find other avenues of thinking and technique and training and all sorts of things. So.
Yes.
You never think you know it all. It's always good to listen to other champions of other sports, you know.
And golf and cue sports, they're both target sports. They're both, you've got a stationary object ball, or the cue ball in this case, and they're both sports where you can get a little bit of a rub of the green, and you have to learn to make the most of your good fortune and let your bad fortune go, not dwell on it. Yeah,
Yes.
Over a 5-hour match, the luck generally run pretty even, but who takes advantage of the little pieces of good luck?
Exactly. Well, when you get a rub of the green, as you say, that's your cue to do something, because you've had a bit of luck, and if you can make the most of it, well, even off a fluke, if you can make a 200 or 300 break off a fluke, well, I'd certainly take it and be happy to, because you get a lot of bad luck as well. So
In the final of the 2011 IBSF Billiards in Ireland, Matthew played Mike Russell, and Matthew was the first into position and he got a kick which ended his break. Mike played a long loser and had a fluke and ran that fluke onto 600, and Matthew was pretty much gone at that point. The combination of the kick and the fluke, I'm sure he's learnt a lot since then, but he never really recovered his his equilibrium in that game.
was that the match that Matthew made that big break in
The semi, he made the 831.
He made the 800 break, which
correct,
Which when I seen that he made an 800 break, which is absolutely a fantastic effort. Sometimes it can take a lot out of you, the concentration and that, and I wasn't all that surprised that he did fall away a little bit in the final. As he, no petrol in the tank, so to speak. He put all the effort into that particular match, and Mike Russell can do that to anyone anyway. But
I saw all of Matthew's 831. It was all floating white. He made two mistakes. There was no balk line crossing in that event. He twice went potting the red and coming off the side cushion. He left his cue ball low and had to go round the table. The first time he underscrewed a little bit, caught a middle pocket jaw, but it finished up all right. And the second mistake was at 831. He overscrewed a little bit, caught a balk jaw, and left him in an unscorable position. But that's pretty good, 2 mistakes in 830 points. And one of the best breaks I've ever seen was Phil Mumford's next visit. Phil Mumford made 226 immediately after Matthew's 830.
that's a good effort too, sitting in your seat.
That's very hard, yeah. The 830 would have taken the best part of an hour.
Well, Steve made a contribution of 45 and got smothered there, which is a pretty popular way of breaking down at billiards. Sometimes the balls will run in front of each other, which can happen on. Well, I find it happens a lot, and that ended his break. So he looked like he was in good touch there, Steve. So a bit unfortunate there, but
I think the modern player plays a lot more drop cannons than the players from Walter Lindrum's era. Walter always recommended getting to the top via the magic circle and dropping the white down, potting the red in the middle. The modern players play a lot of drop cannons, and so they do get a lot of covers.
well, Walter, the great man, was probably able to basically put the balls where he wanted and get to the top whichever way he wanted, given his superiority in the game. Doesn't want that to
That's a
drop.
nice shot.
It's a good shot, Matthew.
Now, this is danger for Steve here. Matthew could really take control of this match here. If he experiences any nerves, they've been going long enough now that he'll be settled.
Yes, I would think the balls the way they are, anything less than 200, Matthew will definitely not be pleased with, I can tell you.
Slightly awkward cueing on this one. He's probably got to see enough of the cue ball. It's a big advantage for these guys that play a lot of snooker, that when they are bridging over the other guy's ball, they're much more used to it than the pure billiards players are.
Yes.
Guys who play no snooker, like myself for example, I'm hopeless when I'm bridging over another ball. It was one of Robbie Falvari's greatest strengths. He was also a great snooker player, that he would chip the white back behind the spot, leaving himself bridging over the white, and it presented no problems for him at all.
Well, it's like anything, Jason. A lot of players aren't very good at bridging over balls. I think a lot of it is to do with how long your fingers are. At times, if you be a little bit shorter, it's a little bit harder to get up high, and also if you've got the drive to actually practice something like that. It's something that I've never really practiced. There's that many shots to practice on at a billiards table.
Yeah.
But if you spend half an hour practicing bridge shots,
That's a good point.
it's
Yep.
it's probably worth it.
I don't know anyone that's practiced that either. I also don't know, snooker players do, I don't know any billiard players that practice with the rest either.
Well, there you go. But it's all crucial to being able to continue breaks, and because sure enough something will come up that you haven't been practicing, and it could be the end of your break.
Yep.
Matthew's gone a little bit too far then. Well, when I say a little bit, he's gone way too far. He needs to, hasn't quite settled down yet. Now, if he was directly in line those balls, he wouldn't have any trouble scoring because it'd come back and kiss the white ball again. But if it's a slight angle, he's got a big problem.
It's a little hard to tell. I've got a very good view of the back of Neil Brown, the referee's head at the moment.
We have got a good view of Neil's head.
That's it. Yeah, Neil normally does remember about the camera. It's early in the morning here, though. We'll give him a reminder in a moment.
Yes, I don't think he can score off this myself.
No, the double kiss is not on.
Oh, I got one right for a change. That had to be absolute precision to be able to score off that. He would have been able just to rub the edge. Anyway, I said he'd be disappointed not to make 200, so he'd be definitely unhappy with a 40-odd. Still haven't settled down yet, but I'm sure they will. Very good cannon from Steve. That's one good shot. Now he needs another good shot to get in position. Looks like you have to force this in. Forcing it off the yellow ball, bring it out of the ball. I'm not sure, but it's hard to tell. It looks like he's a bit wide, but he'll need to hit this extremely hard to get the white to throw into the pocket. Great shot, Steve. He's played 3 very good shots just to keep the scoring going at the moment, so seems to be up for it at the moment, Jason. Steve?
He does, yes. I'd love to know what his session average was when he made that big break the other day. 570, a 360 and a 130, all in the short match. Scored over 1,200. His opponent doesn't think he had 12 visits.
Well, that's another great shot. He was definitely in the zone, I can tell you, because you can't do that if you're not in the zone. And the zone's a funny thing in billiards and snooker because it seems to be something that either comes through or it doesn't. You feel good, you feel fantastic, and sometimes you feel terrible. So he looks pretty comfortable at the moment, Steve. Looks relaxed and cueing nicely.
He would have liked another half a roll there, but he'll just hit this thin and a little bit firmer.
Yes.
The red's gone a bit close to the cushion than he'd
Yes,
like.
half an inch and he was perfect, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So now he's got to... That's how delicate the game is. Half an inch here and there and you're in flying and all. You got problems, so... It's all about recovery, billiards. Every shot you have to recover for the next, for the next, for the next, for the next. So he's doing it well.
It's an interesting cannon, that one. You get a much better leave when you play that coming from behind off the top cushion than direct.
Yes,
Gives
correct.
you a much better angle on the red. Also takes the cover out of the equation.
Well, he needs a good pot here, Steve. Run through.
Yeah, nice shot.
Nicely played. It's okay if that goes in, yeah. Well, Steve's got a big chance here to put some sort of score together.
Very similar position to where it was before. He's running through this one.
Yeah, he's got a slight problem here. I don't know whether he can just hit the red thinly and make the cannon. Ideally he'd like to, but he might have to come off the cushion too, which shouldn't pose any problems in scoring.
A little bit of right-hand side, just to hold.
He missed that, I think.
That, right.
Yes, as I said, it was a very, very thin one. Yeah, probably should have, well, obviously in hindsight, he should have come off the cushion because I don't think he could have missed it.
No. Play a long loser here. I know he can get enough in the middle.
You might be able to play drop cannon here, Jason, and use a lot of left-hand side to straighten the wide up to get it behind the spot.
Yes, you're right.
He needs a kiss back on the yellow and he'll be fine. They went a bit far, but he could still recover the situation.
See Stephen sitting in this chair, just doing a few stretches, doing a few neck stretches. It's also watching when Steve sits out. He's not one of these players that watches too closely what his opponent's doing. So you'll see some players, when their opponent's blocking their view, they'll get out of their chair and lean around to see what he's playing. Steve just sits there and relaxes.
Yeah, well, I think it all depends what helps you concentrate. When you're not only playing the game when you're on the table, but you're playing the game when you're off the table. When you have to gather your thoughts into thinking what you might want to do when you get back on the table. And I think if you're looking too much at your opponent's game, whether it be snooker or billiards, they can distract your mental energy by so-called death riding their shots and hoping they get out of position, which is what you want to see anyway. Well, I tend to go for a walk and look away, and when they miss, they miss. They come back to the table, and it's each to your own. And Steve usually likes to sit down and relax and look at the other player playing, as Matthew does too. So
I've noticed Dave Causey, you can't sit in his chair. He gets up, wanders around, he'll watch some of the other games, if there's other games in progress. Oh, that's a bad
Matthew's
miss.
just put in the shocker there. That was for him, a soda shot, that one, soda shot, missed. So
Steve should be feeling good now. Matthew's missed 3 very gettable shots.
Yes.
In the first, 20 minutes or whatever they've been playing, so.
Yeah, as I said before, I think that if there's going to be mistakes, I think early on in the game, Jason, where they both know it's would love to get off to a good start and put the pressure on their opponent. I think cannon off the red might be the easier shot here.
Yes, there's about 3 ways to play this, but I think this is the best way.
Oh yes, just
It's
grazed
a
the-
lot harder than normal. Most of the players would play that to leave the red over the cushion, over the middle pocket. We may see the first safety of the match here.
So I can't see him trying to score here. Way too risky. Has to put too much power into the ball. The balls could go anywhere, and he's probably not going to score. So I think a safety required here. Steve would be the choice.
On the stick, on this push ball on the cushion. Yep.
Yes, that's not bad.
There is a screw cannon on. He'll have to hit it thin to avoid the double kiss. I don't know whether he'll play it or not.
Well, he could play a thin one. Like run
Tries to cross off the cushion.
it's
Side cushion.
thin and hit the side rail. Well, that's extreme side. Yes.
There
Yeah, he just got a little bit thick, that one.
we go. Yeah.
But he played it as such that he wouldn't leave Steve an easy shot himself. So Matthews virtually played a shot to nothing there, and it was well thought out.
If he had hit the red, the white's now behind the spot, he would have been in business, or he could have been in business.
Now Steve's going to be in
Look at a
trouble.
cushion first here, is he?
Going to be in trouble here, trying to score or keep it safe.
I think he's trying cushion first.
Yeah, that's a great
Great
shot.
shot.
That's a great shot.
Great shot.
Yeah, fantastic shot, Steve. That is that's a pearl of that one, to be able to score off that shot. And
That's the sort of shot that really hurts your opponent if you make a big break after getting in like that when he's left you almost nothing.
yes,
He's got a chance here. If he can make a nice slow pot on the red, oh no, he might be screwing back.
yeah. Well, these snooker players and billiard players are able to
He's looking to see if he can play it thin.
able to play this. Yeah, very
good
good
shot.
shot, Steve.
Good shot.
Yeah, we're going off this and bring the red next to the yellow, I would think. I know.
He's going to have to work a little harder.
It was wider than I thought. Had to force it, but this is a situation where the top players, they feel good. They've got no problem at all recovering that yellow ball there. There's a number of ways to do it. You can
That's
pot the red
perfect
twice
there
off the
too.
spot, then play a cannon or bring the red over to it.
Run far enough through to hit that red a little bit thick to get it onto that side of the table.
I don't think-
Looks like he's left it a tiny bit short. Players will often use every inch of the D here. He's just asked the referee to check that he's spotted fairly.
Could be just a little force here, Jason, I think. Yes, and the balls come together.
Lovely weight.
Very nice.
It's a little bit of work to do though. He may have to run, it looks like he's going to run a few more hazards here.
Yes, he's still got control. I mean, he could have played a cannon and the position wasn't guaranteed.
No, that's right.
At least he can still work the balls a bit now. In the past, Steve probably would have played a cannon. I think he was playing
Yes.
pennant or something like that. And
I think you're right. Now this is better. He can work
he's
this
working
red.
hard. He's focused on what he's doing.
He's underhit
Sim-
that one a little bit as
Yes,
well.
he's underhit again. I mean, if the red ran too far and even into balk, he's still all right. He can still look at-
Exactly, yeah.
So he's probably better off erring on the side of a bit harder than soft to recover.
He's probably up to 9 hazards now, I think.
Now he's got a problem.
Yes. Probably forcing off that, but it's not going to go onto the side of the table he wants. He needs a bit of luck with where this red finishes.
Yes. If it lands for another in off, should be happy.
36.
But it could go into baulk maybe. No, he's okay.
We can't hear the referee from here. I don't know whether he's just had a 10 hazard call or not, but he'd be pretty close if he hasn't.
Now this is perfect, I think, to get the
Yes,
red
he
over
wants
next
to
to
hit
the
this
yellow.
just a little bit thick and push the red right
Yeah,
across.
and a little bit of left-hand side to bring it over.
42.
Going to have to play another middle pocket loser. Wants to play this nice and thick and push the red closer to the side rail. So he's just looking at whether he can play it that thick or whether it's making the shot too difficult. That's a clever shot.
He's just about running out of hazards. By that, you can only play 15 in-offs or pots on the red, and then you have to play a cannon. So
I think he was on 6 when he played his first hazard, so 42, he's now 14 hazards. This will be 15 hazards. He's got to put this red up next to the yellow.
well worked out, Jason.
Nice and thick. Oh, I thought he'd try and push that a lot closer to the side rail.
I don't quite
can
think
play
the
his
angle was
cannon.
there, actually. I think it was the red was too close to... Anyway, he's got what he wanted, and that's a cannon. And now, whichever way he goes about it, I think the key to these situations is to make sure you're on the red at least, because
Yep.
if you can control the red, you control the game. So it's more important to be on the red to be able to make sure to not try and do too much with both balls.
Well, he's ignored your advice, but he's got a pretty good result. Looks like a cannon red top cushion.
Well,
red
he's
ball
done very
cushion
well
yellow.
there. Steve's able to play shots like that and get balls running around the table. And
Still work to do though. Very easy
Yeah.
to get himself a nice red here, but he's got to get that yellow out of baulk.
I think he's okay. Otherwise, he would be playing it so quick. Oh no. He tried to pinch the pocket, but
Yeah.
he's unlucky it landed there. But anyway, end of break. So
He'll be double walking. He's got to make sure not to leave that red too close to the corner. It's underhit it a little bit. He didn't want to just dribble in off it and leave it near the jaws. So it makes it too easy for Matthew to move it. Matthew will just play a safety miss here, you'd think.
yeah, I would think so.
Peter Gilchrist would be going round off 3 or 4 cushions and trying something miraculous. This is a very makeable cannon, yellow cushion to the red.
Oh,
We
Steve-
can't see from here whether there's a big gap over the red or not.
I don't think Steve will be knocking back this cannon.
No.
Chance to bring the yellow into play as well.
I'm a little bit surprised that Matthew put the yellow there.
It can go inside it.
Oh,
It
he
did.
has gone
It went
inside
inside it.
Can be a cruel game. Sometimes I think we subconsciously aim for that gap, thinking we're not going to make the gap.
Well, it's not a bad idea because it's very hard to hit a particular spot from that. So in a way, it will.
Oh, and that one's gone round too.
There you go.
So Steve's about 30 ahead, 36 ahead, which is nothing in the 37, nothing in the scheme of a game like this. He'll be disappointed he didn't make more of that last break. He worked hard for his 15 hazards and
Yeah. His last shot where he covered himself was a little bit careless, I think.
yeah, it was.
But
Nice
that was a
shot.
great shot. Great feel. great feel of how low to hit the white ball and how thick.
This looks like he's got a slow pot red in the middle, very missable. But
Yeah,
looks
it's
like the shot.
it's a little bit tight, this one, so nice and smooth on this one. No,
Oh, he
it was
surprised
it
us.
was very tight. Otherwise, he would have potted the red.
For those listening to the commentary who think we know nothing about what we're talking about, the camera foreshortens the view of the table. Sometimes the shots are quite different out there than they look on the camera.
We're on a hiding to nothing, actually, Jason.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when we get it right, you're supposed to. So I think he's left him in off in the centre here, or maybe run through Cannon, whichever he prefers. In off, he's going on from the centre. No, he's going to the side. See, there you go again. What would I know? Well, that's unfortunate. Very difficult shot, being so close to the cushion. He still could probably make it, but he'd have to cue it extremely well. He's not even playing it, so he's playing a, I don't know, maybe a Cannon. He's playing safe.
Steve, two.
Yeah, that is pretty safe. We may see a safety in return here.
That's an extremely good shot.
Mm.
As he fluke one.
Uh-oh.
It would have been a good safety by Matthew, but this is where rubber the green comes in.
Does, yes.
Now we could look back on this in a few hundred points time and see how he made his he got the break going. Anyway, he might be playing a run through or pot. I'm not sure. Whatever he prefers. He played the 5 shot almost, which is probably a good idea in that situation. Play to either pot the red or make a Cannon. But I think Steve's got a forcing in off the red here. One I would expect him to get.
I don't think the Cannon's very hard either. No, you're right. He's playing the forcing in off the red.
Yeah, no problem for Steve. Like he cues the ball on those. Needs a nice little rub
kiss
here.
would be nice. Oh, that's not bad.
Well, that's a golden rub, that.
What he wants to do here is make the Cannon not pot the red. He wants to put that red into one of the jaws and hold it.
Keeping the red on the table is because if it goes in, anything could happen.
Played that with strong drag.
5.
There you go.
Yeah, now he's in good shape. Could be top of the table in 2 shots and an opportunity to extend his lead to something meaningful.
I didn't say. No, someone said it's 5.
I must say Steve looks more settled than Matthew at the moment. There's nothing much in it, but he looks to have his touch.
Be playing this with strong left-hand side, just raising the butt of the cue a little bit to get the strong side, like a mini swerve shot.
Yeah, he's going away from the ball, so he might be able to play.
It's hard to tell, isn't it, whether he'll roll this in or go around the table.
Yeah.
He's probably right on the, I think this is why he's thinking about it too. He's
Is it-
right on
is
the
it-
borderline of one or the other.
This is where fractions come into it. If he's another half an inch to the left of that, he's perfect. So, but
Might be just a little bit slow by the look of it.
yes, he might roll this red end, which is a risky shot, but it's got a lot of rewards if it goes in.
It does.
I think that's a shot. Roll the red end. He should pot it. It's probably an 8 out of 10 shot for him.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
shot.
good shot.
Just one.
mistake from, well, not really a mistake, all the referees do that.
Neil Brown's made his first mistake, which I'm guessing could be the last.
Yeah. But I'll make sure at the bar later on that he knows about it.
Yeah. He usually admits to his mistake, sole mistake, which for a referee making one mistake in a final is
It's fantastic.
yes, extremely good.
And the two off the spot is the one that nearly all the good referees will occasionally get wrong.
Yes, the amount of concentration the referee and counting hazards, and it's, if you let your mind go for a tick, you're in trouble, because you have to know the score and what he's playing. He's going off the red, not playing a cannon, and it's very easy to say the wrong score, get ahead of yourself. So it's maximum concentration required on the referee's part as well.
That's not too bad. That could have gone much wronger than that.
Yes,
He'd probably
extremely
play this
slow
with a lot
one
of
here.
drag. Probably leave himself a cannon red to yellow next.
26.
Oh, he's hit it a lot harder than I thought.
Well, I'm very surprised he didn't just
Yeah.
hit that
Just drop on them.
dead weight.
Yeah.
Miss.
Now the double kiss is the money shot here if he's game to take it on. Double kiss cannon off the red. There we go. Nice shot.
Yeah, good call.
Mac Rinkowitz has just arrived at the venue, otherwise known as Mad Mac around the world. Mac didn't play this week. He's had an issue with one of his eyes, but it looks like he's nearly back to playing.
Yes, I'm sure it won't take much for Mac to come back into the fray. Now Steve's just pushes over the centre pocket and pot the red and come down for top of the table, and dare I say it, maybe make a break.
Yeah, no, I think this is an important stage of the match for Steve. He's had 2 or 3 chances to really push, to punish Matthew for Matthew's early mistakes. He really needs to do that soon. You can't let a player like Matthew off more than, a handful of times in an hour.
I agree.
First
Because
short Jenny of the match. Taking a lot of care over it. So quite soft, so he hasn't left himself as easy a pot as he might have.
Yes.
He may have to play another short Jenny.
Because he hit the red too hard when he went in off, and he only wanted to bring it up for a pot. So he's desperate to get on a pot for the red, so he's got top of the table and he can score.
Still taking a lot of care.
He doesn't miss
change
many.
a little bit, these shots. The humidity in the room, the temperature in the room, you can sometimes get more curl one day than the next on the short Jenny, so you do need to take a lot of care.
Well, that's right. You have to know the conditions, what they are.
It's raining on and off outside in Melbourne today, so the little bit of extra humidity, the ball can curl a little bit more, especially on this 6/8 double one cloth as compared with a super fine or a strawn 10. Now Steve's got a chance to get away. The tables have played very well this week, but this room was created in a 100-year-old factory building, so it's not heavily insulated. So it does. The climate does affect it a little bit. Table's possibly running a touch slower today than it has on other days. It'll continue to warm up as the day goes on. Melbourne has a moderate climate where the mornings are cool and we have reasonably nice days.
Yes, conditions for everything. I mean, you have to play shots different. If there's just a fraction of moisture in the cloth, the shot becomes so much different than what it is. And I don't know myself. I haven't asked any of the players what the conditions are actually like, but I'm sure they both know what they're doing. And sometimes you just have to adjust, but you don't really want to adjust when the tables have been playing a certain way all week.
That's right.
You fall into it. This is what they're going to be like. And
Well, I'm sure you'll remember one year, probably 3 or 4 years ago, you played Matthew in the final, and it was raining very heavily all day, and the balls played very strangely. In fact, you changed the balls during the match because you thought it may have been a strange set of balls. They were running narrow, and
that was the most bizarre, as Matthew will lay testament to, that the balls, the angles they were taking were from, it was like a horror movie. They just weren't going anywhere near what, they were running straight through. It was like there was no resistance when the balls were being hit. And the second session, which actually I didn't like it, but it probably kept me closer to Matthew than what I might have been. So the second session was that settled down, and some decent billiards was played by Matthew especially.
the RACV club where we're playing the World Championship here, that's a completely different kettle of fish. That's a multi-storey building in the city, climate controlled right throughout the building. The conditions there will not change from 1 minute to the next.
Yes, I've been
The
at the
conditioning runs 24 hours a day.
Yes, actually I prefer it in the winter in the RACV playing because they usually have the heaters on, whereas in the summer they're not running as well because they've got the coolers on. So
I think in October we'll have just the perfect world. Daytime temperatures will be about 20 degrees. That's about what we want the billiard room to be. Thinning off here.
yes, anyone who wants to come along to the RACV club in October to watch the World Billiards is welcome, and it'll be a fascinating event with most of the top players in the world participating, and very much looking forward to it.
So Steve leads now heading towards 120 and he's still at the table. He really wants to run this to a big break.
82.
Well, we might see our first 100 break
That would be
of the
nice.
final very soon.
For any of our international friends watching this, we don't use the walk line crossing rule in the Australian National Championship. We use it in the Pacific International event that precedes it.
87.
It's really related to history, the history of this game. This championship's been run since 1906. That's one of the oldest continuous events in Australia in the sport, except for the war years. It's never been played under the walk line crossing rule, so it's we like to keep the continuity of the event. Even though some of the other rules have changed over the years, the 3 pots and 5 pots and 15 and 25 hazards, it's...
I was a bit surprised by that shot. Steve played there. I thought he would have just come out for it off the white, and off the other yellow, but
It's a bit rash, wasn't
he's
it?
seen something else, and this will require a hell of a lot of side to make this. He got it. Oh, well done.
Now on 92, but still quite a lot of work to do.
I think if he can get underneath the red and bump it up towards the yellow, that would be what he's...
He's gone
I
the other
know,
way, but
just
that's
as
not
well.
bad. Looks like a little run-through cannon, unless he pots the red, but I think he'll play the run-through cannon.
96.
Was a little bit of fortune there. I mean,
Yes,
not
that
to make
could
the
have
shot,
gone
but
anywhere.
to be able to use the red off the jaw was extremely advantageous to Steve maintaining position. So
It looks like he might have the angle to pot the red and leave himself thin off the yellow.
yeah, it looks to be
Or
the
is
shot.
he...
It'll be either that or
No,
the
he's going to leave
cannon.
himself a drop cannon, you think?
Yeah, one or the other, I would say. Surely we can get this one right, Jason.
Oh, I think this is probably a 50-50 choice as to which way to go. Steve does like his drop cannons. He might go with that option.
the good thing, he's got options. You know, sometimes you've got no options as a player. You just got to play the shot. And
No, he's going to go the other way.
that's the shot as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I think so. Much safer.
He's close to it. He can push it where he wants.
He's still got a drop cannon here.
Yeah. And with the cushion sliding, the ball in the middle of the table there is actually in a good spot. It won't slide down too much. It'll come over. Come over very nicely. Still got a bit of recovery to work here. He's in between the balls.
Yes. Probably going to push this yellow off a couple of cushions back towards the middle of the table. Just hope he gets a nice drop on that red.
Well, we call this shot the Steve Missed shot if he's going to play a screw back, because he always seems to get the red over over the pocket.
He develops the pace of that shot very well. Looks like he's underhit that one. Oh, it's still coming.
Well, he's only a few inches off being perfect, but that's. I spoke to his commentator's curse because he always has that over the
Yeah,
over
we
the
do
pocket.
call that the Steve Missed shot. He will have been playing on a strange table for 2 minutes, and he'll play that shot and get the pace exactly right.
But he's still extremely unlucky that the ball landed on top of the
Yes.
opponent's ball, where he's limited to what he can do. But I'm thinking he'll I don't know.
He's close with a screw back cannon. He may try and screw. Is he playing safe?
He's played a safety
Well, there
shot.
you go. 107 break and
I was a bit
safety.
surprised at that. I thought he probably could have dug into the red and come back and made a cannon, but he's on the table, not me, and he didn't fancy it. So
He's opened up a break of nearly 150 now, and you'd think
he's keeping the
Matthew's
pressure on,
unlikely.
which is fair enough. You don't want to get too careless, and Matthew will be playing a shot to nothing here, in off, or it'll be safe if he misses, maybe.
Steve might have a go at this cannon.
Yeah,
The
looks
middle
like
pocket might be in the way. He may have to stun it rather than play it off the cushion. It's a bit hard to tell from this angle. Or unless he can hit the side cushion just before the middle pocket with a bit of running side.
Yeah, whatever he fancies. But I think you're right. I think they're in the centre pocket's a little bit in the way for the cannon. So
Play a screw off.
yeah, and
Or is
played
it-
it very good.
Very
very
nice.
good indeed. That shot.
What he'd like to do here is play a short Jenny and pot the red in the middle and screw back to leave it in off the yellow. That would be his sort of plan for the next 3 shots. He's left that a little bit short still, but that's all right.
That's not bad. You can run
Should
through,
be- Or you could run through, correct, and
run
leave
through,
it.
and then going off the yellow.
Yeah. He's not looking at that though at this stage. This should be no problem for a snooker player of Steve's ability. Is he running through? No, he's going to flog a few hazards. It's not a bad ploy if things aren't quite going right for you to run a few hazards off the red.
Yeah, well, you're getting the feel for.
Yeah, and you're
You still
keeping
get-
your opponent sitting down. You're playing relatively low risk shots, although a long loser's never a.
He doesn't miss
A
too many
low
long
risk shot.
losers, Steve. There you go.
Commentators.
He's
curse.
fluked it. He not only missed it, he missed it by a mile. But he had a fluke, but no result of it
No.
really. You could force this one in too. No, he's let Matthew in here.
Yeah, that red looks like it'll come out of balk. Easy and off the white.
Yes, Matthew will be saying to himself, well, come on, it's time to score.
Steve's got a lead of 161. He's going to pot the red first and then go in off the white. It'll probably be his 3-shot plan. Pot the red, in off the white to leave a drop cannon to top of the table.
And then make a massive break. That's the plan.
Yep.
Fast.
In a lot of billiard matches, 277 to 121 is an extremely.
Oh,
He's got a bad rub there. I think he can get off the
no,
side rail.
He did land full on the top of the red there, so
Yeah, but
he can
he
really
has got a
blame
shot.
himself.
There's room inside the red, but I don't think he'll go inside it.
9.
It's a good angle to look at.
A little PK
It's
cannon
possible
off
he
the
could run
red.
through that wide and going off, but the jaw could be in the way. Yeah, he's
A
playing.
little PK cannon.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, as I say, a normal billiard match, 127 to 277 is quite a good lead, but
Yeah, that's right. It's nothing.
and this is like about 6 or 7 minutes work for these two guys. So
13.
He hasn't gotten away with that one. He's played a good shot, but not had any luck. Probably see pot white double balk here. That could easily have finished nicely for him. That's a good tip there for people, beginners who are watching this, that he potted that with authority to get down closer to the red. You'll see a lot of guys roll that in and leave themselves a very long shot for the double balk. Steve might try and move these balls.
yes, it's probably a good idea.
No, going to play
No, he's
safety miss.
Playing safe.
Touch aside so that this ball finishes on the other side rail in balk. Underhit a little bit.
I think Matthew's hit that too hard. He's lost the red. Very disappointing for Matthew there. Hasn't found his touch at all yet. No, it's been a bit of a scrappy game so far, apart from Steve's 107. Yeah, but Steve doesn't have to Steve's defence, he hasn't done anything really wrong or played anything a really loose shot yet, as far as I've concerned. He's
No, you're right.
mainly got out of position through a bit of bad luck in that mainly, and broken down that way, whereas Matthew hasn't really got into the groove as yet. Well, Steve has to pot the red here. It's just a matter of what he does with it. Matthew's got a good opportunity here. I think Steve's kind of rushed the pot on the red. He thought
did,
about where,
didn't
to me, he thought a lot about what he was where he wanted to land, and when he got down, he played well quicker than I'm used to him playing like a tricky shot.
This is probably a 4-shot plan here. You'll roll the red into the middle. You go in off the white, pop it out for a middle pocket loser. then drop it down for the drop cannon, then play the drop cannon. That'll be his 4-shot plan. That plan's always change depending on how they go. Probably hasn't hit that quite as thick as he wanted. He could have dropped cannon, and I expected he would have been playing it from the other side if everything had gone to plan.
Yeah, I think he went in off the white ball. He hit it just a touch on the thinner side,
Yeah.
which he made it push over a bit.
Now that's uncharacteristic. He's landed on that red exactly the right angle, but too hard.
Yeah, well, his
Unless he's
touch
played
isn't
to-
there at all at the
No.
moment, really, for Matthew, and he's normally plays that shot spot on. That's come around very nice. He'll be happy with that. Yeah, the right contact here on the white ball. He could be in for a good one. Oh, he's a bit wide.
He still can work this around.
Yeah,
very
he'd
well.
work it out, yeah.
Those red to white drop cannons are very nice to play. You can play to double the red across the other corner and not gather the balls together, and it takes that smother out of the equation. It's a much easier shot for, especially for beginner players, the red to white drop cannon. It's a tiny bit hard. Shouldn't present any problems, but these are missable.
I think he might play a screw cannon here. The other way, the in-offs are very thin.
Yes, it looks like you're right. Double. Oh, he's missed that.
Oh, he won't be happy there.
He'll be very annoyed.
He's not happy with the cloth. I
You
can.
can tell he's annoyed.
So Steve's in again, a lot earlier than what he thought he might have been.
Now Steve has a chance to make a break and extend his lead. We're about to change the commentary team. I'm sure you're sick of David Collins and myself making the wrong predictions on what shots will be played. The next voices you hear will be Neil Croft, who requires an introduction, and David Pitt will do that. And the other voice you'll hear will be David Pitt.
So welcome again, viewers, to Cue Ball TV for this, the final of the 2019 Australian National Billiards Championship. We're a little over an hour into the 5-hour match, and the match is at quite an interesting stage. I'm joined in commentary by a legend of the game, Neil Croft, well-known player from a little while back. Twice runner-up in the Australian Championship, and he's come down to Yeovil today to have a look at the billiards and very kindly agreed to join us in commentary. Welcome, Neil. How are you?
Very good, thank you, David. Enough of the legend status, I think, compared to these two boys. Absolutely marvellous stuff these guys are up to. Both making 500 breaks. Absolutely phenomenal snooker so far. Very tight start to the final, though, it seems. An hour played and only 315 to 160, so obviously the pressure's really telling on them at the moment.
Indeed, you haven't seen anything, like the flowing billiards that we've seen from both these players in the early part of the tournament. Steve, of course, made his best ever break, 575 a couple of days ago, and then Matthew bettered that with a 584 in the semi-final yesterday. So
unfinished, David. Don't forget the unfinished.
575 unfinished. That's right, and we believe that's the first time in the Australian Championship history that two players have made a 500 break in the same tournament.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I know Bob made 702, and I think Matthew made 830.
809, yeah.
809, and. I'm not sure how many other 500s have been made, but not too many, I don't think.
Well, in fact, I did some research through the records yesterday, and I couldn't find any other 500s apart from the ones by Bolton and Marshall, of course. He made plenty of them, and then Steve joined that.
Robbie made a big 400 at Brunswick in the early 80s.
459. And George Gannam's best was 423.
Which stood for a long time.
Yeah. Tom Cleary's best was at 440 odd. Jim Long's best was 475. So some absolutely great players
Legends
of the Australian game.
Legends of the game.
That haven't cracked the 500 mark in this championship.
It just shows what rarefied atmosphere these two are in.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, there've been some very big breaks in other tournaments in Australia. Tom Cleary made 682, which is a world amateur record, in winning the 1954 World Championship in Sydney. And of course, let's not forget...
That's a bad miss by Steve. He won't be happy with that.
Easy enough. He's just hit that too thick and run through it, Neil, and sold the farm. So 160 in front, but he's left Matthew with a very good opportunity here.
He's tried to put that on the pyramid spot.
And of course, the other big one, Robbie Foldari, 615 in,
that was in the
Victorian Championship. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So
the play of these two guys is it's at another level. It really is. Matthew, we know the breaks that he's made and the career he's had in the game, but Steve almost equally with the IPSF World Snooker, and now turning to billiards, which I'm sure would please his late father absolutely no end to see Steve so successful at the game of billiards, because Billy, as we know, was a very, very passionate billiards man.
Okay, Matthew just worked them together nicely along the top cushion, and this is probably the first time in the match that we've seen him get the balls down here at the top of the table.
Steve might need to get comfortable in his seat for the first time. Just drop in here a little correcting cannon to push the white back. I think he's a bit short on that one. Well, maybe not. No, that looks good.
A little thin on this one, perhaps.
It was thin, but he's made a very good fist of that. So white covering the spot. Neil, could you just move out there? Good boy, thank you. Is that spot covered? I suspect it might be.
We'll find out in a moment, Neil. You can't see the spot from here. Our referee, of course, for the final, Neil Brown, very experienced referee and one of the best in the business. He's had a wealth of experience in snooker and billiards.
He's played that shot well now.
That's
Finished high on that red. That's
that's
maybe it's a half a ball too high, but it looks pretty good to me.
yeah. He can correct this with check side just to bring the red
Right-hand side,
down and drop perfectly on the.
Yeah, he's hit that a bit hard. I think he had to put a lot aside to get that. Was a fraction too thin.
I think he was just hoping to get a heavier jaw there to leave
Try
the
and
red
get
over
this
the
over the
kick,
middle
but-
now, I think. No, that's interesting. May have caught that a fraction thick too.
I think he might have been trying to put that there, Neil.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Wiped its feet. Ideally, we'd like to get that above the middle, but it's drop cannon now. Oh, good double kiss if the red gets past.
It has. That's worked out beautifully.
We're not playing balk line rule for the Australian national, are we, Dave?
No,
This would be an ideal position to be on about 80 odd if we were playing balk
That's
line
right.
rule.
Yeah. Now, the balk line rule has never been played in the Australian national, Neil, and
Good.
part of the reason for that is that it's by not using it, it enables more readily comparisons between different eras. So in nearly all of its history, the Australian billiards has been played under the two-pot rule with various limitations on hazards of 15 or 25. But of course, with these players, the hazard limitation is largely irrelevant because all the top liners are top of the table players, and you don't see them making sequences of hazards. Steve made 15 hazards just before, but that was when the white was out of position on the side cushion. That was quite valuable for him just to knock the balls around for 5 minutes or so and just get a feel for the table without having too much risk. And here's Matthew now, absolutely in at the
Prime
top of
position.
the table, prime position. And you can see from this lovely angle that Dan's giving, it's a beautiful touch that he's displaying, kicking the white up towards the spot. But that cueing, his cue just goes through. It's not just the straightness of his cueing, it's the timing that is so impressive. He's got a beautiful rhythm and follows through on
One of the
the way he
secrets
strikes the ball.
One of the secrets I always saw to Matthew's top of the table play was his ability to strike the pot red and leave his white on exactly the right angle for the next cannon or the next subsequent pot if need be. His ability to play little half stuns and rather than big heavy stuns to get the ball just onto the right line. There's another example there. He's just got that exactly right. I think he'll go straight through this one. Yeah. A little bit short
just
on that
have to
one.
hit it, yeah. Just have to
Just drop
drop
this in
in
and
off.
play the long red from hand.
Yeah.
63.
Notice now, even on that very short shot, Matthew
Follow
just had
through.
a follow through, just a little bit of side to guide the ball into a thinner contact and
Avoid the double
take it away
kiss.
from the red. Yeah, all these little subtleties of side and top and bottom that these top liners make. They're just continually trying to do a little bit more.
It's a beautiful touch on that little run through cannon there to only move the white about half a centimetre. Many of us would leave the ball short end of break, but not Matthew.
73.
I once played Roxton Chapman back in the late 90s, and he was a master of the top of the table play in terms of precision. His goal was to make 30 points hitting the white directly off the cannon before having to play the indirect cannon to push it back up the line underneath the red. Anybody who's tried to do that, it's nigh on impossible, but Roxton was able to do it.
Yes, I haven't seen him play, but they say he was a beautiful, beautiful player to watch. And he's made a comeback this year. Played in a few of the tournaments in England.
He came out of that famous Middlesex batch of players. Middlesbrough, sorry, not Middlesex, Middlesbrough players. Back in the early 90s that included Russell, Gilchrist,
Corsia.
Corsia and Chris Shutt, who I think no longer plays. Fabulous players in the mid-90s. Extraordinary. All 300, 400, 500 break players and more. Corsia the most interesting that I saw because he is closest to the purest double strength player that I've ever seen that could make 300 and 400 breaks, belting the ball twice around the table regularly.
Nice shot there by Matthew. Just he was out of position. He just elected to pop the red over the ball pocket. Take his medicine, bringing the red out into the middle of the table. And now he'll just play a few shots to recover the red and try and get back to the top of the table.
On this one to avoid the 6-shot, David, I think. Yeah, so he's queuing up there with a bit of right-hand side. Take this one thick. 6-shot probably wasn't on, but he hit it with right-hand side to ensure he went nowhere near the jaws. Back in prime spot here. Let's take this red slightly thicker than half ball to double it over the corner. Didn't need that kiss, but I don't think it's hurt him.
So Matthew's on 93 here, just approaching what if he gets there will be his first 100 of the match.
I don't think it'll be his last 100 of this break either, David.
Steve made a 107 early, which was the first 100 of the game, and interestingly he played safe on 107, which you hardly ever see at this level of billiards, but he just had an awkward position and he chose to roll his ball up to Matthew's white yellow and leave them safe.
I think that's really important for Steve. His best bet is he can't play a shootout. As good as Stephen is, I don't think he can play a shootout with Matthew in this final. He needs to keep Matthew under the cosh as often as possible. I'm not saying Steve can't win, but I don't think he can win if it's a shootout.
Yes, I think you're right there, Neil. In recent years, Matthew has had some fairly comfortable victories against Steve, but of course we go back to the Brunswick Club in 2009 when Matthew only beat Steve by 20 in a 6-hour final. That was a tremendous match. Steve came to the table 120 behind with about 4 minutes left, facing a double balk, scored off the double balk, got the balls in position to the top of the table and was absolutely flying. I think he just missed on 100 and then ended up losing by 20, but very, very exciting finish at the end of a 6-hour match, which is quite rare, of course. Usually by the end of the 6 hours, one player has established dominance.
Matthew converting to Geet Sethi's favourite mode here of Postman's Knock. I believe he's making a comeback, David.
He is.
Might be playing in the World in Melbourne.
That's right. Yes.
That's sensational.
There's a rumour that he played in the Indian tournaments this year. He went to Leeds for the World Match Play in April or May, and now I believe that he intends to come to Melbourne and play in the World Championship at the RACV Club in October, which is great news because we're hoping to attract a very strong field for that. We've had some of the very good players here just last week for the Pacific International Billiards and saw some great billiards there. But October at the RACV, could be another level up.
Beautiful cannons here from Matthew, double kissing that white perfectly every time. Absolute precision. Oh, I spoke too soon.
You did speak too soon because knowing Matthew, he will take the first opportunity
to bump it off
the cushion. Yeah.
Can you get this one with a touch of right,
yes,
David, to get over the top of the red?
Yeah, he just wants to move. Just flick the red. He wanted to move the white up towards the spot, and he's played that beautifully.
Can he stay this side of the white now to play the correcting cannon?
Yes, if you look on the
other
angle,
ton
you
of
can
check
see.
side maybe.
Yeah, just thin with check side. He should be able to hold this.
As the cushions are taking and not sliding. Oh, he did that. Is he hard enough? I think he'll concoct something.
He's
run through
this, and knowing his mastery, he'll be able to.
2 cushions and correct it back down the top rail.
Exactly.
You or I try that, David. The white goes straight in the pocket every time.
Look at that perfect line and perfect pace. He's got that
Yeah.
right on the nameplate. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful touch and
And it
control.
looked so simple,
Yeah,
but
here he is.
we
He
all
was-
know it wasn't.
Here he is. You know, a moment ago he was in trouble, and now he's back perfect top of the table position. There he goes, just chipping the white off the cushion.
Would have liked it that a bit harder, but maybe the shot wasn't on. He's got so many shots that it doesn't matter if it's not ideal. He can just take his time and get it to the spot where he can correct it around.
Beautiful playing conditions here at Yarraville for the 3 tournaments in succession that we've had. The Pacific International Snooker, won by Sirav Kathari from India, the world billiards champion. Then the Pacific International Billiards, won by Peter Gilchrist from Singapore, beating Sirav in the final. And that tournament was played this year for the first time under the long up points format rather than the 150 up format. That proved very popular indeed.
Yeah, rather than timed, it was 750,000,
That's right.
1,500. Yeah, interesting.
Good format. The game is never over until the end because the leading player has to get to his points.
Yeah.
And in theory, the player who's behind can always win because if he's good enough, he can
Make a 700 or
make a
something.
700 and get over the line. So the game is always alive in that format, which is great.
Is that here to stay, do you think, David, the long up?
Well, I would hope so. You know, obviously it's a matter for for the VBSA and the ABSC to decide. But it was,
So you'd propose the national being long up?
No. I think the idea is to have 2 tournaments in different formats. One of them for the national, which has traditionally been timed, and the Australian Open or the Pacific International, which has mostly been short format, 150 up, or even in some years 100 up. But this year was the first time the international was played under the long up format. Very popular. Billiards Australia ran a Facebook poll to gauge what people thought of that format, whether they preferred the 150 up or the long up, and 90% said they preferred the long up format.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. So I was chatting with Matt Bolton in commentary the other day. He was a big fan of the long up format. He thought it was much better than 150 up, which he doesn't actually like.
Don't blame him.
So it's great to see the Gilchrists and Katharis and Dvarsharia, Dhruv Sitwala, all out here, making big breaks. Previously, when they come here, we can only see them make 150, and then they start again. So
Yeah.
it was,
I think if you can make an 809, David, the last game you want to be playing is 150 up.
that's right. So in that tournament, in the Pacific International, there was 103 centuries, including 32 double centuries and 2 breaks of 412 unfinished by Devaj Haria and 452 unfinished by Peter Gilchrist. Already in this tournament, which followed straight on from the Pacific International, there's been over 60 centuries by 10 different players, and the 2 high breaks of 575 by by Steve, and 584 by Matthew. So really great week of billiards here at the Yarraville Club.
Just
Something
approaching
for everyone.
200 here,
Yep.
David. Not much of a milestone for him, but for most of us listening, watching and admiring, it's a significant score.
The amazing thing about Matthew is the speed of his scoring. We've just been chatting. The last time we really commented on the score, he was on 93.
Now he's
And
200.
here we are 2 minutes later, not 2 minutes, about less than 5 minutes later, and he's on.
Oh.
Oops.
Oh,
I
he's-
don't know
I
if he
think-
got to that.
no,
If he
he's
did
missed
get
it.
there, he's got a
See, we
smother.
should just keep chatting,
We
David,
should.
and stop talking
Yeah,
about
that's
the
right.
break.
So 201 there to Matthew.
Terrific break.
Beautiful break. Takes him from...
I wonder if he got a slight kick on the yellow too, because
Yeah.
looking at where that cannon was going to strike,
Yes, yeah.
I don't think that would have... I reckon he might have got a little kick. Now, no, he has...
he
wait a
got
minute.
It. Ah,
He's made the cannon, but it's not touching ball.
right. Okay. Oh, well,
Well, I think
203.
Matthew's not happy, but I think he should be, because it's a lot better him still being at the table and
That's
leaving
right.
Steve what he just had.
Exactly, yeah. Can we get a replay of that shot, Dan?
Come on, David, how can he score here?
A couple of ways. He can go across the table and hit the white.
Thin off the white?
It must have hit on the way.
It did rock back, but did it just rock back in its spot? What's happened there? We didn't see that.
Did he try to go thin then?
He might have missed it. It might be a respot, but
There's a pause in play here. And we're not quite sure what happened there, but anyway,
No.
203 to Matthew, which takes him from 100 odd behind to 40 or so in front. So the first major swing of the match there, and
David, can I just say, as a casual observer of the game these days, how fantastic this this coverage by Cue Ball TV is. I've been logging on from time to time over the last 18 months to 2 years, and it is absolutely spectacular what Australian billiards and snooker is being able to do with this coverage, both of snooker and billiards. It is really, really exciting, and I'm really hoping that it's that's grabbing an increasing audience.
you're absolutely right there, Neil. Dan Lynch, the sole proprietor of Cue Ball TV, does a wonderful job covering billiards and snooker and pool. Dan's from a pool background himself, but the knowledge that he's gained of the other sports and how to broadcast them is absolutely fantastic. And Dan's a one-man band. He sits here all day. He's constantly monitoring the not just the vision but the audio. He's switching camera positions so that you can see the shots from different angles, monitoring, of course, the quality of the picture and the balance and levels and so forth. And yeah, he's a great operator, Dan. We're blessed to have him down here at,
it is a respot.
at all the events around Australia, really, because Dan will go anywhere if there's a tournament on to
I
be
thought you were
covered.
about to say if there's a buck in it, Dave.
well, that too. He doesn't do this for nothing, you know.
Nor should he.
He's a lovely guy, but he's not that lovely.
No,
you know.
it's absolutely terrific coverage. Terrific. Really, really promoting the sport. Oh, Steve's missed that.
Steve's missed a respot.
That's
That's a bad miss. He's missed two long loses wide like that, actually. He missed a long loose like
Matthew.
that to let Matthew in for that 200. But I think he's got a bit lucky here because...
there's not maybe a two-cushion cannon
yeah.
off the left of the white, but it's not easy.
It's no snack.
There's nothing easy on here.
yeah.
Little thin screw in off the white, flick it in the left top pocket as well. It doesn't. I don't like it. What is he doing? Gone the two-cushion cannon.
Oh, he's
Missed it.
just,
Yeah, it wasn't
just
easy.
missed it. Wasn't
Not
easy.
easy.
But he's left.
He had a bit of right-hand side on that.
Yeah.
I actually don't think he needed
That's
it.
right. That's right. That's exactly right. That just...
This looks comfortable too. I think Steve can get this off. If not directly, he can certainly get this off the cush with a bit of right-hand
He may
side.
be able to go in off in the middle.
Oh, even so, yeah. No wonder I was no good. Ooh, that's not going to help him.
Unlucky.
That's not going to help him.
Yeah.
Maybe my shot was the right one,
Yeah,
David.
yeah. But just exactly how no good were you, Neil? Just remind me how many 300 breaks you made in World Championships?
There was one, David.
There was
There
one.
Every dog has
Okay.
its day. Every dog has its day. Great cannon.
Lovely shot there by Steve. Beautiful shot. Left them a bit tricky, but he does have a shot.
I'm sure you've spoken at length about the upcoming World Championship, but how many players are we accommodating?
So the field for the World Championship is 60, and
Now,
that's the
to
maximum
an old
size.
mathematician,
Mhm.
60, not 64?
No, 60. So there'll be 12 groups of 5.
Everybody gets 4
and,
games.
everybody gets 4 games.
Nice.
90-minute matches in the round robin.
Yep. And you'll have a top 8 and a qualifying 16.
Well, probably
So-
24 will go through the top
Yep.
2 from each group.
Yep.
And
Plus-
then
plus
in
4
each knockout.
thirds.
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Yep. So, 12 groups, the top 2 in each group go through 24.
Ah, yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. How dare
So-
I question you on matters of administration of a billiards tournament, David.
So
Supported by
that's
Don
twice-
and Jason
yeah.
and
Steve's been a bit unlucky in the last minute or so because twice he's caught a jaw which has left his ball in baulk.
that's a pretty good
Sorry, left
safety
the
shot,
object
though.
ball in baulk, and he's been forced to play safety there. Matthew
Two
plays
cushions with a ton of
two or
left.
three cushion cannon here, you would think. This is the sort of thing when he's hot. Is
Yeah.
oh, he's just missed that by a small margin. But you know, left Steve. Don't know if he can get it off this. It looks very thin from here. Oh,
Great shot.
yeah, good shot. Had to play that fast to
So
drive
he got
the
that into long
drive,
loser
drive
position, no,
the,
indirect cannon, I think, here.
yeah, to drive the white out into the centre of the table.
Very nice if he can just get in behind that
Yeah,
red and push
that's
the red
right.
out into the middle.
Because if he plays this nice and thick with a bit of side, the yellow will come in.
Not bad, not
Come-
bad.
Not quite fast enough because the yellow was coming to join in there, but it didn't quite get there. Never mind, he's got a couple of options here.
I'm sure that pot into the, dare I say, yellow pocket for a snooker player
Yeah.
is looming large for Steve, though he does love the screw cannon here.
Mm.
The screw cannon's the shot, I think, yeah. I assume he got
He's
that,
got
yes.
that, yes, yeah. He's brought the balls back down quite well together.
This is where Steve's so good. He can just take out one tricky little pot that maybe the rest of us wouldn't look at, knock this one in and end up back in prime position. Many might look at a little soft screw cannon or something crazy here. I dare say Steve will take this pot on, little soft screw 2 cushions and be right back in. And you wouldn't expect him to miss it.
And he's played that beautifully. Just screwed that around off 2 cushions with side to finish on a nice angle on the red.
Certainly his strength as a billiard player is his ability to pot. And that's not a criticism, it's just a... I think all great billiard players are great potters. But Steve is at the upper echelon, at the upper end of that scale.
Oh, might have got out of that.
Might get a little thinning off the yellow here.
He may, yeah, that's very close. No, he probably... red might be in the way of his cueing there, which...
Can you flick off the red with a bit of right-hand side and make the cannon to the yellow? David?
Possibly. He's having a look at that.
You might
for
have
sure.
to use the long stuff though.
Yeah.
I think that shot's on. It's just the...
I think he
Can
might
he
have
reach
to. The problem is he's got to reach it and use the long stuff, and he may have to put a little bit of screw on the ball, which is a soft screw with the long stuff. Isn't the
probably
easier shot going?
He's playing a
around.
1-3, huh? He's got that.
No, he hasn't. Unless he has, he's just dropped it in. Thought that was just going to pull up with the side and miss, but good shot, Steve. Couldn't really
He
control
can
the
take on
yellow
the indirect
there.
cannon here, but he has to avoid the pot yellow.
You play it off the red to take that out of the equation, but the red could go anywhere. He's played it.
He's
Just
played
smash it around
that,
the table. Yeah.
That's what I'm sure David Causey would have been able to play that shot with great aplomb. Stephen hasn't quite got the result.
He's,
That pot looks a lot harder than I think it is.
he's buried the yellow there, but he does
Sorry,
have a shot.
it is harder than it appears, is what I'm trying to say. No, maybe it
Yeah,
wasn't.
That's a good shot. He didn't try to play it slow. He's hit it firmly and brought his ball across to the other side of the table. Good shot, that. He'll have to do something pretty clever
Yes,
here to bring
I
the,
think-
to bring the yellow back into
Yeah,
play.
a
won't
bit
he?
of one ball precision here from Steve.
Yep.
Get the red over the middle, and then I think he'll try and leave himself an angle to playing off the yellow from the left-hand side of the table. Not easy, and he'd need to be precise, but the usual way of recovering the white, the yellow as it is in this case, in baulk from 2 pots and putting the red on the blue spot, the middle spot. I just don't think that's...
Definitely
don't
not
think
easy
it's-
because that
no.
yellow's so close to the cushion.
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
there's
You're not guaranteed
very
anything,
little margin
even
of
if you
error.
make that eventual cannon.
I don't think he has to worry too much about recovering the yellow at the moment.
No,
He's
I
got to
think
try and
gotta
score here.
play a little thin short, Jenny. I'm pretty sure that's on.
Oh, lovely shot. Yeah. To play that firmly to bring the red away from the cushion. He's done that beautifully.
One of the mildly comforting things about playing in this situation, David, is with the opponent's ball buried under the baulk cushion, you're somewhat unlikely to leave anything, even should you miss. So I think you can afford to be a little bit more aggressive and take on the shots to try and recover the red. I mean, you can always leave a half ball, that's the game of billiards, but quite likely to get safe should you even miss taking on a speculative shot. That's wide.
Yep, he's done that 3 times now. And he's left
And as I say, he's probably left a walk up.
Yeah, this is no snack, but for Matthew, it is.
I'm prepared to back him to score here, David.
Not the scoring so much. It's
do you want lunch on it?
No. It's not the scoring so much, but where's he going to put them? Of course, it's Matthew. He's put them on a dinner plate.
He's going to. I suspect he can bump this white straight underneath the red, and yep. And here we go.
Three shots, and he'll be at the top of the table.
Yeah.
From hard up on the baulk cushion.
Can I scratch that last commentary about Steve potentially being able to leave them safe?
Yeah, that's a mastery.
Far from the truth at the moment.
That's the mastery of this of Matthew.
Game very, very evenly poised, David. There's absolutely nothing in it. In fact, in a couple of shots there'll be less than nothing. But this visit could start to see Matthew impose himself, I suspect.
The other notable thing about the week of billiards that we've had here this week is the steady increase in prize money that's come with it. 5 years ago, the Australian Open was worth about $3,000. This year, it's worth $14,000. It's just increased incrementally over that period with tremendous work by.
I believe Reventon, as your major sponsor, has really come to the party.
Oh yes, no, Reventon's a wonderful supporter of snooker, but also billiards in Australia, and the Reventon series that the snooker boys have been playing for big bucks lately in Albury and down here in Melbourne.
Fantastic.
And it's really great to see some of the.
I saw Robbie dragged himself out of semi-retirement to play up in Albury.
That's right. Yeah.
Wouldn't have had anything to do with the money on offer, would it, David?
Who knows? Who knows?
Robbie not interested in playing in this?
Not in this, no. He's retired, really. He's retired from billiards. He still occasionally plays snooker, and he still plays 9-ball, but he hasn't played billiards in anger for 4 or 5 years. The other thing that's, apart from the prize money, that's really enabling people to play some great billiards is the conditions that we play under. Alcock's set up the tables here at Yarraville and also at Albury and many of the other clubs in Melbourne. And thanks to the sponsorship from CLNS, where new cloths are provided for Australian Championships, we have new cloths on all the tables here at Yarraville every year. And all the other clubs are following suit, and really it's fantastic playing conditions, as good as they've ever been for players in Australia, which can only help raise the standard. And here's Matthew in again at the top of the table. He's got the white in the postman's knock position, but as we've seen before, it won't take him long to try and knock it away.
Odd minutes left in the session, David. It's a critical time in the match. Matthew puts in a big one. Oh, he's taking the pot on here. puts in a big one here, it's puts him in a very strong position.
Nice angle there, just to move the white off the
Might have
cushion. He's got a
just
little bit,
covered the red.
Yeah. Not a problem for a
run
player
through,
if he's
yeah,
covered
run
up.
through, double the white back, and away you go.
Just perfect pace to.
Another very difficult shot made
Yeah,
to look ridiculously simple.
Exactly right. Yeah. An ordinary player would have sent the white all the way across to the side cushion, but his control is so good he can just pace.
I'm
the
sure
white
almost
exactly where
every
he
player in
wants.
the tournament that's played could see that shot that Matthew played, but seeing it and executing it are different things.
Indeed they are. You guys want to go? Sure. Just strong right-hand side there
check that one up.
to check that one up off the cushion. That was a good shot.
It's one of the few times Matthews ends up on the wrong angle on the red, causing him to have to play that shot. He's a fraction short on that one too, I think. May have got a kick. Oh, he did that well, rather well. Absolutely enraptured with the ability to move to the side on shot when the referee's covering the head on shot, Davids.
Yeah, no, it's
Brilliant.
good. It's
Absolutely
good, really
brilliant.
good coverage. Yes, you can just see the different angle from this. Beautiful pot there, following off two cushions by Matthew there. Oh,
Little
he's just,
trouble
that's
here.
a little bit awkward. Of course, let's not forget, Matthew has won a lot of snooker tournaments around the country, including several Australian snooker championships. Steve, of course, has won this last year equalled the record of the great Max Williams by winning his 8th Australian National Snooker Championship. In fact, between these two, they've won over 40 national championships in billiards and snooker. So it's
How many billiards does Steve have?
Steve's won the billiards 3 times, and he missed that by quite a long way.
Yeah,
but I suspect that.
Sure, what was it? He's not happy with something.
No,
Very miscued or... This is a very important juncture now. Steve needs
Yep.
to reply here.
yeah. I think he's got. He's able to
Oh, pot the red without
pot the red. I think he can pot the red. I think there's a clear path, thread the red to the pocket, but he just has to be careful that he doesn't push it, which he'll do that by hitting it with. Oh no!
Now,
That's a.
wow, Matthew.
That's a bad miss. Suddenly Matthew's right
Matthew
back
was
in,
out
and
of his
there.
seat like there was a
that's
spring
right.
in it, David.
Yep. Suddenly,
Wow,
advantage Matthew there. Matthew missed.
Keep all sharp objects away from Steve for the next 15 minutes.
Okay, we'll have a change in commentary now. We're Neil Croft and David Pitt signing out. Thanks very much, Neil, for coming down and helping out on the commentary.
Thanks for the opportunity, David. Really enjoyed it.
And now we're going to hand over to Grant Medley and David Collins.
Thanks very much. Back to the match. Approximately 40 minutes to go in this session, and Matthew's at the table, just starting a break. Joined by David Collins in commentary.
Yes, quite interesting actually. Scores-wise, in the past the matches with Matthew have almost been half over. So at least it's competitive at the moment, and we'll see if Steve can produce some good billiards and stay with the champ.
So David and myself, we've been sitting inside the room. Have you seen the conditions of the tables, David? What do you think of the conditions this morning?
Well, I haven't spoken to any of the players, and I'm assuming that they're just a touch slower than what they might have been during the week, as we've had some weather outside and the rain can get into the moisture can get into the cloth slightly and have an impact on how the balls run. So the players are aware of that, and they should be able to adjust, but they don't like to having to adjust to the conditions they've been playing on all week, which have been superb.
Yeah. So Matthew's faced a long loser here. We've noticed Steve has missed a couple of those long losers, and he had a respot earlier which he missed.
Yes, that's surprising. Steve missing a long loser. I actually, before he played the shot, I called it. I hardly ever see him miss it, and he missed it badly. So
Yeah.
commentators first. So.
Yeah.
Here's an in-between shot here. He's almost got a cannon, and he's almost got a wide in off. He might have to use a bit of left-hand side on this to swing it over a bit. Yeah, he loaded it up and got it. Well judged, Matthew. Left with a similar shot again.
Yes, yeah. These are similar shots. You attempted to play them with a lot of drag and create the cannon. Can come unstuck when you're not familiar with the cloth conditions.
Yes, Matthew's renowned for his top-of-the-table play, which is as good as anyone in the world, I believe, and his hazard play is underrated, and he very rarely misses hazards like a long loser, as you say.
Yeah. You also noticed Matthew had a bit of postman's knock early in the match. It's something that doesn't pop up very often with these floating white players, but he's obviously very good at the postman's knock, as we saw earlier. Doesn't like to keep him there long though. I've spoken to him about that, and he prefers floating white to postman's knock. It's he can do either, and very well, but he prefers floating white and likes to get the balls off the rails. He's comfortable doing it that way. Whereas other players in the past, other great players like Geet Sethi from India, was a postman's knock where the ball's hard against the rail and you keep double kissing it and making cannons and double kissing it and keeping the ball there. As long as you're scoring, it's fine, whatever you're doing. So we've got some great vision once again from Cue Ball TV. Nice and up close. We see what side Matthew's applying to the ball. Not much there, but it's great. You can see the dots on the balls and seeing what the players are doing with the cue ball.
Mm.
You see the touch of side applied to the ball.
Yeah,
there.
well, that was a little bit careless from Matthew.
Yeah.
It was tricky, but I think he played it just a little bit quicker than what he'd normally give a shot like that respect.
Yeah.
So now he's got a real problem to be able to score here. Yeah, very tough shot.
Yeah.
The great Walter Lindemann wouldn't have any trouble scoring off that, I would imagine, but he was one of the greatest billiards player that's ever played the game. So yes, Matthew disappointed with that little lapse of concentration there, that, and just like Steve, a lapse of concentration with that shot. He didn't think about the object ball.
Yeah, he's lost Matthew's ball a few times this match already in the balk area.
It's going to go close, but not quite.
No.
Yeah.
disappointed with that, Steve, not getting the white ball out back into play, which he needs to keep. He needs to stay with him. Doesn't want Matthew to get too far ahead come the halfway stage.
Yeah, that's the thing we've seen with Matthew in these finals the last 10 or so years. He really knuckles down at the start of the match and puts a good lead on his opponents. This match he has struggled. It's been a scrappy affair, but Steve's still at his head. He's well within reach of Matthew, so he'd be happy with this result so far.
Yes, well, having said that, Grant, saying he's within reach of Matthew, well, he's some 140 points behind, which is only 6 or 7 minutes work for Steve, and he's knocked in a 500 break during the week.
Yeah.
So, but to do it in a final against Matthew is to make a decent breaks seemingly be a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But I'm sure both players will improve in the next session in the afternoon, as the table will be playing a lot better, and having had 2.5 hours under their belt.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
sure we'll see some good breaks in the final session.
So a tricky little screwing off here for Matthew against the nap. That's a tough shot though.
Tough shot. I thought he'd be about a 6 or 7 out of 10 for Matthew, even though it was difficult.
Yeah.
Didn't quite get it. Didn't get a hold of it.
So where we see Matthew's ball here, Steve would like to bring that back into play fairly soon and get his cue ball below the yellow to bring it back into play from in off.
Yes, he'll be looking to get on a pot on the red to be able to float up the other end of the table. But first of all, he's got to make sure he gets the red in a potable position.
Yeah.
Whether it be this shot or the one after.
6.
So he's not quite happy with the pot yet, so he's going to take another in off into the centre pocket. It's always good to play a few of these, get the arm going when you haven't been to the table for a while.
Still a few more hazards. The trick here is you don't want to get red too close to the line, otherwise it might drift into. He's played that. Well, again, I think he meant to bring it that close, but it's absolutely perfect. He'll just screw back on the red and going off the yellow next shot. Yeah, I think Steve needs to make the most of this opportunity, as you do with most opportunities, but
17.
when it's getting towards like
He wants this to
half
slow
an hour.
down. That's not too bad, high of the pocket.
half an hour or so before the close of the session, you want to be, he wants to be up with Matthew, up near him, or even have a lead if it's possible, if you can knock in a good break.
Yeah, I mean, both players are very quick players. They'd be turning hundreds over in about 6 minutes, approximately, sometimes quicker.
Yes, they know the game, and once they get to the top of the table, they can flow pretty well and score heavily, quickly.
So Steve's overhit that in off there, and he's left himself a tricky cannon. They're a bit hard to judge when you're so close to the balk.
Yeah, this is where you need a little bit of luck on the red ball. It can do all sorts of things well. That could have landed dead safe, but he's got a double kiss, which was fortunate, and he's got to make the most of that. It's where the balls can be kind to you or not kind to you.
That's right. Yeah.
Some days they're your friends, and other days they're your enemies, and but the top players generally control the balls better than most. That's why they're the top players. So. Yeah, I think kind of
threw his arm at that, didn't he?
He kind of rushed that a little bit.
Yeah.
Just as judge, Steve, there, I think. It's been a long week and a bit for these guys as well. We've played in the last tournament prior to the Pacific International, which the overseas players played as well as these guys played as well. So it's been a hell of a lot of billiards. And while your touch should be there, the mental fatigue can kick in as well. And
yeah, well, both these players had 6 hours of billiards yesterday with only an hour and 15-minute break in between in total for the 6 hours, which is it's a tough gig for anyone.
well, it is. It's just extremely tough to play that long in a day. I think the maximum we play now is, especially for finals, like 5.5 hours now, and that's 5 hours, and that's considered a long haul. So
Yeah,
playing 6 the day before, and then having the front up in the morning here, and then play another 2.5 hours after this is requires powers of concentration. But they're used to it. They're used to playing long matches, snooker and billiards, and they love the competitive side of it. Both very good players under pressure, and I'm sure they're relishing playing in another final.
yeah. Both players obviously have a lot of respect for each other. Both at the top of the game in both billiards and snooker, and have been for quite some time. And I know Matt was thrilled to see Steve knock in his first 500 breaking competition, and really relishes the chance to play Steve in a final.
Yeah, so Steve was obviously very happy to make a 500 break. It's like a milestone for sure. Any quality player can make a 500 break, and I always thought Steve was going to make a 500 because he's got such good touch and understanding of the game. So I think, personally, I think another 500's around the corner as long as he's playing the game.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why he won't go beyond, if even beyond 500. But which keeps him in this game for a long time, because his capabilities of making a large break. And Matthew knows that, and Matthew knows he's not safe even if he's 400 in front. So he'll be out to try and put as big a gap between them as possible.
Yeah. And Stephen's obviously off to the UK to pursue a career as a professional snooker player. I'm sure there'll be a few league teams in the UK would like his qualities for their billiard teams. I know last time he was over there, he did play some league matches.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a competitive beast, Steve. He loves the battle with the good players, and he's very, very approachable, Steve, for the other players to talk to and about the game, and have some very good talks with Steve about the snooker and billiards, and great exponent in both of them. So regardless of how he goes overseas, he's been there a few times. It's an extremely tough gig over there, but I suppose life's about enjoyment, and I think he gets over there and enjoys what he's doing. He might have some good results.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Matthew could be locked in here for a few more points, and
Yeah, I'm sure Matthew will be keeping an eye on that clock there, and working out what type of break he can achieve in that time, and head to the break at the table.
yes, well, ideally he'd love to be still at the table when the break comes. But it's a reasonable time off.
Mm.
It's 30 minutes, is it?
30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. So, well, he can score 500 break in 30 minutes.
That's
so.
right, yeah. You can see Steve in the background there in his Zen posture. It's hard to sit for a long period of time and watch your opponent knock in these sizable breaks. Not such a sizable break yet, but it's hard to come back to the table after an opponent knocks in 200, 300, 400 break.
Well, that's right, and you got to main. Well, Matthews just I can't believe he done that.
Yeah.
He's just he might have actually. That could be the end of the break, I think.
Yeah, we just can we crop Neil's head out there? There we are. That looks tough.
Unless he might be able to. I know. Yeah, he was able to hit the edge of it. That's
Yeah.
well, he's very fortunate there. He actually had a shot on.
Yeah.
Because if just I don't know, 100th of an inch closer to it, he hasn't got anything on. But
That's right. He's got no
anyway,
pocket.
them's the breaks, as they say, and caught that pot a little bit thick.
Yeah, he's left himself a tricky pot here. You always want to be closer to the red ball.
Yes, he played a cannon,
Yep.
and fair enough too. That was missable. Played that extremely well.
Yep. Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed with the top players. They always weigh up the probability of pots versus cannons, and sometimes they'll take the riskier cannon to avoid that hard pot, which is the right call.
Yes, well, they've got that much confidence in recovery.
Yep.
They say to themselves, well, I can score off this, so I'll be able to make something rather than
Yep.
a possible miss. And then
One player I did notice at the Pacific International, the hard pots on the cushions, etc., didn't phase was Javaj Harrier. He is an absolute potting machine. He just gets down and knocks them in. He many a time you think, okay, is he going to play a cannon here? He just gets down and pots that red.
well, yes, it's good to have in your armoury, being able to pot balls, and when you're playing top-level billiards, or any billiards for that matter, if you can pot, it gets you out of a lot of difficult situations and puts you in prime position, being able to have a good potter. I don't know of any top billiard players that haven't been a good potter, so
Yeah.
it's part of the game. As you see there on the screen, finger marks. I'm not sure how many of them are Steve's finger marks, but I can guarantee a lot of them are Matthew's finger marks, and
Yeah.
he's got a bit of a. Spoke to him about it.
Strong grip.
Well, you're pulling your fingers up against the nap, and,
Yep.
and it leaves. It can create problems when your balls are close together playing slow shots, because the ball can just drift off, and
Yeah.
he doesn't like doing it, but he's got a habit of running his fingers across the nap a little bit.
Yeah, you can see there he bridges down. He does push forward a little bit.
I know his dad has spoken to him about it, and Neil, if you're watching, yeah, I've spoken to him too, mate, and hopefully we can get out of it, because it's not good to look at, actually, the finger marks on the table, and it can only make the table players slightly worse. So hopefully we'll get out of it in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure Neil's sick of brushing his star table at home after Matthews had a hit on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was good last year. We had Neil on commentary throughout the match. We've watching his young bloke plod away and win another title, and it's good to get an insight into Matthew's thoughts and obviously the year he had as a professional snooker player.
Yes, it was good listening to Neil. Neil calls it how he sees it, and
Yeah.
it's always good to talk to Neil. He's straight up about everything and very honest and very knowledgeable. Well, Neil, Matthew's got his prime here. I keep thinking he's going to knock in a big one. He hasn't knocked in a big one in this session, but I'm sure both players will knock in a decent break,
Yeah.
or two, before the end of the match. That ball jumped a little bit there, but he hasn't lost any position off it.
So he's just having balls clean here. He's on a break of 136 and perfect position to continue the break on. If he's just taking the opportunity to refuel, clean his cue.
And quite often the balls can get a little bit dirty because of conditions. Sometimes it's just all it needs is a touch of moisture in the air, and it tends to pick up a lot of marks more so than normal. That was a loose one for Matthew. He caught that little. He was ridging over the ball and didn't take enough care with it, I don't think.
Yeah.
And the ball got away on him, and he's still okay. But it's just not as easy. Just well, there you go. That's how things can happen. Oh, he made the shot. Wasn't sure if he scored off that. Did you see that, Graham?
It happened too quick there, Dave.
Too quick. He must have just feathered that ball.
Yeah.
Because I thought he missed it. But
yeah. We didn't see the red spots and the red move, so it's pretty hard to
Yeah.
call.
Anyway, he's avoided a mini disaster.
Yeah.
So he's still shooting. But still got a little bit of work to do to get the balls
Yeah.
back perfect again.
It was interesting. I heard you commentating earlier about the bridging over the ball and the length of people's fingers, and it's something you don't practice. It's an interesting concept. If there's any snooker players watching, do you practice bridging over balls? It's
Well, I've never practiced bridging over a ball, and I'm sure that plenty have, but I'm also positive that plenty haven't.
yeah.
We don't practice other shots. We don't practice usually. I don't think Steve's missed that one, but
He's left it buried, so it's not too much damage there. He might be faced with a double block at some stage, but sometimes it's not a bad thing if you don't have a perfect shot on. If you attempt that hard in off, and if your ball does sit over the pocket, and it's not too much damage against these top players. You'll just come to the table with a double balk. It's something that I try and do every now and then. If I've got no shot, try a silly little in off and just leave it sitting there. And
I know a double balk is part of the game, but I'd like to see it eliminated myself. I'd like to see, because when you pot the opponent and put them behind the line, they've virtually got no shot on. So if they make that an illegal to be able to do that, I think the game would be better and be less potting of the white ball as a tactic.
yeah, I think in a points-up format, that's probably a good idea. And in a time match, it's not too bad when you've got long sessions, but in a points-up, it does create a lot of negativity, especially in the 150-up format. And sometimes you see it in the larger up formats too.
Well, the difference between time format and 150 up, or a score for that matter, which is what they played in the Pacific International. They played matches up to 750, 1,000, 1,250 and 1,500, which is, ideally that's a better way to play, because neither player can use the clock to save the match or anything like that. But having said that, sometimes if you get a couple of slower players playing, the match can go on and on and on, and it can sort of interfere with the scheduling of matches. So
I think they had a perfect balance this year. Round robin matches were timed, and obviously that takes the scheduling problems out of the equation. And once you get to the last 16, etc., the players playing in those matches, they're fairly fluent, and you won't have a long match. I think it was just one match in the last 16, Michael Pearson and Frank Humphries, that went for a little bit longer than the other matches, but it wasn't too much of an issue.
yeah, I think that's not too bad when it's the last match of the evening.
Yeah.
You're not interfering with other matches,
Of course, yeah.
That's fine.
So as we can see, Matthew did get the red into the balk position. He's played a double balk on Steve. Steve's just looking at the cannon here, which is a risky shot.
Well,
Doesn't want to score a goal here.
it is a very risky shot.
Which he's done.
And
Matthew's got a tough pot here to get into play, but he doesn't have to do too much with his ball. He's played it fine enough, okay.
yes, fine enough. Great shot.
That's a fantastic shot.
Now he's in very good position to work the balls again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sometimes hard to sort of ignore that temptation to play the shot when your opponent has both balls in baulk. It's I think more often than not you're better off playing towards the cushion, depending on where the red ball is. You can see here, Steve's left Matthew a good starter, and off he goes.
He probably could have disturbed the balls by going across the table, as you say, with side and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Steve played a measured shot to try and make a cannon, and it was a tough shot, but unfortunately for Steve, he let Matthew in. Yeah, the score being out to the 300 plus lead is could be start to get a little bit concerning for Steve. It's not too bad at the moment, 300, but if it gets beyond 500, it's
Yeah, it could be trouble.
he's. I think he missed that.
He
Yeah,
did miss that, yeah.
21.
yeah. It looked easy, but when you've got to hit a very, very fine edge,
And stretching.
yes, and stretching too. Yeah. How often do we practice stretching shots?
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
that's something else we don't practice. Yeah.
Not so much for me, but I'm sure
Well, you can
Matthew.
reach most shots, Grant. You're about 7 foot tall. So.
So what's he looking at here? A cannon off the cushion?
Yeah,
Hopefully.
he's screwing off.
Oh,
He
screwing
plays
off.
these very well,
Yeah.
Steve. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, you've.
I keep every time I
Commentator's
say he
curse
plays
again.
certain shots very well, he misses. So
Yeah.
making me look silly.
Seems a little bit stabby at the moment, doesn't he? He's,
Yeah, he's
jumping
hit
little
a bit of a lull at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got the arms crossed there. It's
I think he just needs to knock in 100 or so,
yeah.
and just to get a bit of feel back and get a little bit closer. But he's let Matthew in again.
Yeah. He needs his ball to slow down a little bit. There we are.
Yeah,
He-
so next 20 minutes is going to be crucial, I think, for this game. If Steve can get on the table, well,
You see Stephen back just trying to loosen up a bit, stretching his arms. He's obviously a little bit tight.
yes, Steve very well knows playing Matthew is you have to keep on scoring. You
Yeah.
have to keep the pressure on
Yeah.
because you basically know what you're going to get with him. And even if you happen to get a 300-400 point lead, it's like, nothing.
Yeah.
Because you know the fighting qualities of Matthew and his ability to make big breaks. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
that's why I felt that Steve really had to get off to a good start, which it wasn't a bad start, wasn't it? But it was a slow start for Matthew, and
Yeah.
Steve wouldn't be happy with the way he's played yet, even though he was in front there for a while.
He's got a good contact on that red. He's left a close proximity pot. It's
Yeah, it's. I can assure you, this is a lot thinner than what it might appear.
yeah.
Extremely thin pot.
Yeah. We can just switch over there.
If he takes it on, he might play a run through.
Yeah.
He's in. Yes, the referee's in the way again.
There we are.
Yeah, good shot.
Great shot.
It was hard to get position on that because all you could do was hit the angle and
Yeah, just leave both balls in front of him after the shot, and you've got at least a cannon on. He's going to straighten up.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
just missed that.
Yeah. So Steve, once again, he's got another chance here. Good pot to get in, and
I think it'd be good for Steve to knock in a small break here,
Yeah.
100 or so, just to stay in touch with the champ.
he's followed that in with his eyes there. He's good pot. I'd like to be a little bit higher on that, but
Yeah, he's
just
in
making sure of the pot though.
Contact on the red.
Yeah.
It's good contact on the red here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, would have liked a little bit of thinner contact.
here's a shot he missed before.
Yeah.
The Ramirez it twice. No,
Great shot. He
yeah,
stayed down a lot longer in that shot there. He looked a lot better.
Yeah, hit it very sweet.
You can see the pace just picking up. I think.
He's trying to
Get
he's,
these
he's
little
trying to
trot-
get something going.
Yeah. I think Steve plays best when he's not thinking about the shots. He just gets in this excellent flow and just gets down and hits the ball.
Steve's got a few paces he plays. Sometimes he goes a bit slow and then he goes really fast. And whereas Matthew's basically the same. He's very rhythmic, very rhythmic, and he hits the ball when he's settled, and especially top of the table.
Yeah.
One or two feathers and hits the ball and gets himself into a really good rhythm.
That's a good pot.
Good pot from Steve.
Yeah.
Because everything's a pressure shot when he's playing
Yeah.
somewhat of Matthew's standard, and he needs to produce and make the most of his opportunities.
Yeah.
Scoring 50 or 60 is like doesn't sort of cut it really when you've got opportunities. So he'll be mindful of that, and I'm sure that he's got a good break in him before the end of the match. A really good break where both of them have, I reckon. When I think the conditions of the table might improve too.
Yeah, I'm sure that the table's heating up as the day goes by. We'll just come off a cold night, and there must be a bit of movement in the back of the room there. Steve's just signalling to someone. So we've got another big pot here. He's maybe got a thin in and off or not, but just having a look at that now.
Yeah, it's pretty thin. It's pretty hard to tell how thin it is, but Steve's a good potter and shouldn't have any problem potting that red.
No. Seeing a little bit of an increase in Steve's pace here. I'm
Just want to knock that yellow in. He's fine.
yeah.
This is where he needs a good contact,
Yeah. Yeah.
because this can obviously go wrong.
Inside of the red, towards the pocket. Excellent.
Yeah, you wouldn't mind
Little bit
the red bounce out a little bit more.
I'm all rolled.
But, I think you can just float the red in.
He's a little
It's
in off.
slightly risky, but I think he's got to play it.
Yeah.
Just float it in nice and soft, and he'll be in prime position.
Yeah, I think he's looking at his thinning off the yellow too. Leave another drop cannon.
No,
Oh,
he's not
he's-
feeling it.
oh, he's playing a
not
screw off
confident
the
with it.
cushion.
You could use the jaws to bring the yellow back here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
nice shot.
Once that yellow to slow down.
See, there you go. This is why Steve's walked away, so he knows their balls are touching.
Yeah.
Which is a handy break, because if it wasn't touching, he'd have.
Okay, so we've got another respot. Let's see how Steve goes this time. Yeah.
I don't think he'll do what he did last time.
I hope not.
Yeah.
No.
Should learn by it.
Yeah. Centre of the pocket. Excellent.
Very nice.
Up it comes.
We're just on 13 minutes to go in the session, and Steve needs his table time
38.
pretty well, not only for his own scoring, but to keep Matthew from getting further ahead again. So
Yeah.
This is very crucial, this session, this part of the session.
Yeah, he's a little bit low on that red, had to go around the table.
He's left himself a tough pot now.
He has. He's straight down.
Yes, he missed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was straight down in that pot. I think he's trying to increase his tempo a little bit and try and get a bit of confidence.
I'm not sure what's happening here.
Yeah.
It looks like
Toilet break maybe. Yep.
toilet break. Still 12 minutes to go. You got to. You should be stopping the clock here. I don't know if they are. But yes, stop the clock.
So while we're having a quick break, we'll just have a look at the players passed through to the final. So in the quarterfinals, Matthew had a sizable win over yourself, David.
Yes, smashed me. No resistance, and it was a pleasure to watch him play, actually.
Yeah, some sizable breaks, a couple of 200s and a 378 there. Then Matthew obviously had a comfortable win over Ben Judge in the semi-finals, 1-7, 1-2 versus 5-5-7. Not many big, he had a big 5-8-4 in that, but apart from that, no other big breaks. And obviously Steve's path to the final. Steve had a very close win over Rod Nelson in the quarterfinals, 7-21 to 6-6-5. Rod once again had a pretty solid tournament.
Yes, that was a bit close for comfort, that one from Steve. Only just getting in by, how many points was it, Grant?
What have we got? 35, 54 points.
54 points, yeah. Well, it's an extremely close match. But I think Steve knocked in a good break early and may have thought subconsciously the job was done. And
Yeah.
Rod Nelson, who can make good breaks, kept plugging away and got pretty close to him. And good effort from Rod. But Steve got through and he's in the final, and we're back to the live action now.
Yep. Yeah, and finally, Steve had a quite comfortable win over New South Wales' Michael Pearson in the semi-final. No sizable breaks, plenty of hundreds from both players. And here we are now. So Matthew's back at the table. And approximately 10 to 12 minutes left in play. You can see the electronic scoreboard in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Obviously shows the players' breaks and points. I'm sure Dan from Cue Ball TV is happy to have the day off scoring with the quality of the scoring system in play here, and we can see on the screen. Give his fingers a rest. He's nodding away. It's quite a tedious job, being behind the scenes and having to press the buttons, especially for billiards.
Yes, well, Cue Ball TV is behind pool, snooker and billiards, and Dan does a great job, and not like yesteryear where we never could watch ourselves play or our friends play, but everyone sort of gets a bit of a go on it, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. those that are watching, obviously click on the share button and spread the love. It's always good to get some viewers online. If you are viewing from overseas, drop a comment. Let us know where you're viewing from.
Drop a comment. Tell you can mention the commentators are doing a good job or a bad job. That's fine. We can cop it.
So we've got a viewer from North Queensland.
Well, that's gone wrong for Matthew. We hit the wrong side of the ball there. We'll need a really good pot here, or maybe play a cannon,
Yeah.
screw cannon.
Yeah, big target there. He wants this red to possibly
Great
slow
shot,
down.
great
That's a
shot, great feel
fantastic
for that.
shot.
He had controlled the red end as well.
Yeah, hopefully some of our UK viewers will have the chance to jump on. I know it's hard with the time zone differences, but Rob Hall, Gary, etc. did mention they do jump on from time to time to watch our coverage. I'm sure some of the UK viewers did jump on to watch the final of the Pacific International with Peter Gilchrist playing. It's one thing, we had Rob and Gary commentating earlier in the week, and they're quite impressed with the coverage that the Australians do put on for our events, the live coverage. It's something that's lacking in the UK.
Oh, I see. I wasn't aware of that over there. But now this is ideal for Matthew now. As long as the pot's now, he needs to bring the red back to a potable position. So he then push the white behind the spot and then pot the red, and he'll have perfect top. So he needs to get this up a bit higher. Still not high enough, but yes, the white's in a way for going off the red end of that pocket.
Yeah.
Right behind the spot. Oh no, he's fine, he can pot that.
So Matthew once again down the end of the table where he's most comfortable. Hasn't got Steve's ball in a perfect position yet, but that won't take him long to manoeuvre that back to below the spot,
Yes.
just to the side. Great camera angle once again. Seeing Matthew over the ball.
Yes, he'll be looking to bump up that white ball now
Yeah.
off the cushion.
So he'll be looking to come underneath this ball here, a touch of left hand side. See the side on the ball there. Just pushes Steve's ball up towards the line of the spot.
And I never thought I'd like these balls when they first come out because I wasn't used to it, but
Yeah.
it's an education in itself to see what the players are doing with the ball and how it spins, and
Yeah.
being a good billiards player, being able to hit the ball with extreme side allows you to make the pockets bigger and make the angles reachable with certain shots, and hitting the ball accurate with spin is an art form itself, and these two fellas are certainly good at that.
Yeah, I think it's a great learning tool, having the spots on the ball. You can see what you're applying to the ball and seeing the results, and obviously change what you need to change from there. I know I was lucky enough to go over for the 2012 World Championships in Leeds, and all the players are sitting there for the players meeting, and they pull these balls out with spots on, and we're all looking at each other going, what's happening here? And these are the balls you're going to be using, and it did take, there was a fair bit of resistance from the players, but after a few games everyone started to warm to the idea of the spots, and they saw the advantages of it, especially from a spectator's point of view, but from a player's point of view they're fantastic.
Well, it would have been a bit of a shock to the system at first, I should imagine. It was to me, and but like anything, you get used to it. And with the spots, there's the two-shot rule in pool, they use a spotted ball. When they use a spotted ball for American 8 ball and 9 ball,
Yeah.
so it seems to be the norm now. So whether snooker's going to change, I don't know, but I don't think it'd do it any harm if they actually changed to a spotted ball.
It was interesting when the 1G sets came out for snooker. The initial balls, the cue balls, were spotted whites, and everyone was asking, where's the cue ball gone? The home cue ball, and all of a sudden, the snooker players are like, we're not having this, and it never really came into play. But I know RMF did produce the initial 1Gs with the spotted white. That's obviously being changed back now to the plain white ball.
Well, there's 4 minutes to go, and at this stage it looks like Matthew's going to be have the table when he comes back after the break.
Yep, a perfect
which
scenario.
is not really what Steve wanted, but
he's still in the game though. That's the main thing.
He's still in the game because it's not like Steve. Well, it all depends how Matthew gets, I suppose, but it's not like Steve has to make a 400 or 500 break. He can, if he can chip away the 200 or just to stay in touch here and there during the next session, he could put some pressure on Matthew.
So the second session tonight it's 3:30, I believe. The second session starts. Okay.
3:30.
Yeah.
3:30 till 6.
So anyone from the UK watching, I know it's approximately 4 a.m. in the morning there, but when you wake up 6 a.m. you'll have some billiards to watch. So if there's anyone from the UK watching, jump on and share the link for the second session.
Great drop cannon for Matthew there.
Yeah.
Back to the top of the table. Notice how high he lands on when the ball is over to the side of the table. A lot of players don't get up high enough and they leave themselves wide and they've got to screw the shot and things can go wrong.
Yeah.
But Matthew's always mindful of that and very rarely leaves himself on the wrong side.
Excellent shot that he's played out with left-hand side, hitting Steve's ball and pushing Steve's ball back towards the spot. It's a great little shot, that.
Yeah, it's a lot trickier than what it looks.
Oh, yeah.
But he's confident with it. He's used to playing that shot and handles it very well.
Yeah, it's good to have those little shots in your arsenal. It just makes the game so much easier. So back underneath Steve's ball here.
He doesn't want that to drop.
No.
Just when you think that was a bit careless for Matthew, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Just when you think he's going to be at the table when they come back for the break, it might not be the case.
Yeah, and the bell's just gone. So
the bell's gone.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the end of the
clock
session.
must be out a bit because.
Second session will commence at 3:30 this afternoon.
Yeah, what happens with the timer's clock there, the PC clocks do run a little bit slower than the actual clock. That's why we don't use the clocks on the PCs.
I think a good idea here would be if they could leave the balls there, because if they measure them, it's very hard to put them back
Exactly.
at exactly the same
Yeah.
spot, and this is crucial to put them back in exactly the same spot.
Yeah.
Or leave them in the same spot. I don't know. But
Yeah. I mean, the reds obviously has to be spotted so they can be removed, but
well, the red can be removed,
Yeah.
but not the others. Well, anyway.
thanks very much,
Proceed.
everyone. Second session commences at 3:30.
3:30, and we'll see you back then.
Share the stream and let's get some more viewers for the second session.